We're live. Wait.
Hello and welcome to Activate and Thrive and to our weekly Thriving Thursday interview. Each week we interview a different beautiful health-minded person in this beautiful world of ours. And we have these every Thursday at noon Eastern US time. And of course they stay up right on our Facebook page here at Activate and Thrive, and you can access them anytime. We're so glad that you've joined us today. And Mia is going to welcome our special guest.
We have a very special guest with us today. So this is a friend of ours, Desiree Mamot. She's in Wyoming, and she grew up in a home where nutrition and health and wellness were very, very important. She studied pathobiology in college and has always just loved learning how the body can heal itself. And she then went on to cosmetology school and did hair for 15 years. She has a passion for God and health and just helping others, to feel better and to live their best life. She's also a Lyme disease survivor and has learned so much through her personal journey with that, as well as through her child's journey through cancer. So, Des, we just love the idea of, you speaking to us today about gut health and just how that influences so many other parts of our body and our health, our immune system, our skin, and just our ability to combat so many other issues. So, what is it that is your story? What led you to all of this and to just be so passionate about gut health?
Well, thanks, Dawn and Mia, and thanks for doing this and each week, helping to educate people about health and how important that is. So I love that you guys are doing this. It's so cool for all of us to be able to be a part of it. So and thanks for having me on. Yeah, so my story, definitely I grew up just kind of having some health things and symptoms and things that we didn't really know what was going on. And little did I know all along that it was Lyme disease. And kind of not until my son was diagnosed with cancer did my symptoms are really kind of reveal because of that stress, what had been going on for many, many years. And so kind of through my journey of just growing up and always having a love for health. And I think that I knew I needed to live a healthier life just because I didn't always feel good and didn't know why. I was the one that was, constantly having allergies or gut issues, brain fog, just kind of, constant kind of like headaches, just little things that just seem normal, I guess, my whole life. And so I think because of that, I always had a love for health. I had a mom who was in nutrition and health and a bodybuilder when I was young. So I grew up around health. I loved it. And then when Chase, obviously, once he got sick, it definitely made me want to just dive into health and prevention. And I wanted to be more of, proactive with my health versus reactive, because I felt like, I constantly had to be reactive. And so just trying to help my body and his body and my family's and anyone around me to be healthier. So that was kind of, I guess, where I got started in my health journey and just my love to learn more about health.
Yeah, we really have to be proactive and preventative with it, don't we? Not just wait until something's gotten to that critical point.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, I think people are getting more aware of that instead of waiting. I always say, like, don't put the seatbelt on once the accident has happened. It's like, what are those things that we can do to prep our body before something or before a big stress comes our way or before, heaven forbid, something major in our life happens. So,
Desiree, I wonder if you can speak a little bit to, some things that we need to know basically to live a better life, to be more proactive in our health, as we're talking about here, and to be able to take preventative steps as opposed to these reactive steps after something happens. What kinds of things do we need to know?
I think the biggest things are, and what I learned a lot through both of our journeys of health, in the cancer world, which cancer to me is like just disease in general, all has a root cause and it's all very linked. And so gut health, I know we're gonna talk a lot about gut health. Gut health is super important. We talk about 70 to 80% of our immune system is built in the gut, and the gut is responsible for signaling a healthy immune system to the rest of our body. So the gut is huge. You look at inflammation. How can we keep inflammation down? You look at the food we eat, huge stress, exercise, great clean water. There's just so many different things, sleep, anything that you can do to help your body to perform at an optimal level. So like I said, when it is hit with something, that it can perform that much better. So I think there's so many, meditation, yoga, all of these things are key. Taking the right things, giving your body the right nutrients are all huge part of our immune system and helping our bodies to be healthier and live better, healthier. So
What about stress elements in our lives and the impact of those, both like physical stress, emotional stress, how do those impact our health, and do they hit us in the gut? I mean, we frankly, in our little chat before we went live today, you talked about something gut wrenching. And does this literally translate into gut wrenching, these stresses?
it really does. And, I wrote even a couple of notes down. I didn't want to forget, because I think that, when we look at the stresses, I think that in our environment today, we and our children, like our generation of kids and ourselves, there's so many more stressors than I think what even I had growing up. And I look at, whether it be a stress from GMOs and pesticides and sugar and high fructose corn syrup and EMFs from cell phones, to how fast paced I think our life is, and stimulation of the brain that, our kids get and what we get, to, let's say, a divorce or a loss in the family or a move or a loss of a job, or like me, a child who gets sick. Those are all things that when stress, hits a body, antibiotics are a big stress to the body or the gut. My son with chemo is a direct, killing everything good and bad in the body. And so there's so many things. Dairy's another one that's hard on the gut and the skin and comes out like that skin. And so, when stressors hit the gut, you look at what the gut is responsible for, like your neurotransmitters for your brain. So when your gut is not healthy and you're not producing what you need to help the brain, you could have everything from anxiety, depression, brain fog. Those are all things that are directly linked. Allergies are another big one. You hear people with seasonal allergies and allergies. When stressors hit the gut, they can come out as allergies, food allergies, seasonal allergies. So there's so many different things that you look at with that gut brain axis that really does. Stress is a huge, and I don't think people, you look at this past year, I don't think people really realize what stress does to the gut, and in turn, what it does to the immune system and to the rest of every organ of the body.
Yeah. And, it's interesting. I have a friend whose young child has migraines, and it's not all in the head. We have some things that we need to just balance out there, right? We all do.
Yes. And I think so many times, people feel like, oh, it is just in my head, and they feel that way, or maybe they're told by someone over and over again, well, it's all in your head, you're fine, but a lot of times it's like, if you would start addressing that gut, then, the brain, and you look at spectrum disorders, even in kids, if you start addressing the gut first, inflammation, detoxification, then it's crazy what you can see with the brain, the skin, and the rest of the body.
And it might even help us in our emotional response.
Absolutely.
We have somebody who is engaged with us here. Lynn is saying that stress is a major problem with her gut issues, and so she resonates with this. So what can you say to Lynn as far as, okay, you're feeling the stress, it's a problem with your gut issues. What can Lynn and others be doing?
I would say number one, absolutely look at what you're eating and where those food sources come from. I'm a huge fan of organic fruits and vegetables as much as you can, just because and they're not perfect, but if you can eliminate some of those pesticides, GMOs, those are all, involved with leaky gut and irritable bowel and Crohn's, and all of these autoimmune diseases are all stemming in that gut. And so if you look at food, number one, I would say water is a huge deal. Like your water source, there's so many chemicals and things that are in our water. So look at either, reverse osmosis or purify, like, water, because there is a lot of junk in that as well. Number two, are the third part, it's like, probiotics, prebiotics. When you talk about, your gut, think of it like, it's that garden in your body that you need to fertilize it. You need to give it what it needs. And so probiotics are a huge, huge deal. That was one part of my journey. And, with Lyme, but then also with my son after chemo, or even before he got sick, like what was going on with the gut and the immune system, why he got sick in the first place. And so that was a big deal to me that, my kids all do a probiotic, prebiotic every single day, all of them. No matter if you feel like you don't have gut issues or you do, why not, like I said, prep for, success before you even might need it in your health. And so, our guts, I believe, like I said, are worse off because of our food source right now that we have too. And so eliminate, the more inflammatory foods. For her, Lynn, it would be, dairy, your processed sugars, all of those are really big. Alcohol intake. I'm the first that said, I love my gin and tonic or a glass of wine, but limiting those things that are going to cause more inflammation in the gut. And so anything that you can do to reduce oxidative stress, help, feed that garden what it needs, huge. So those are the things that I would say, would be a big, big part of a huge start to helping with the gut.
That word, that what you just said, oxidative stress, we've found that a lot of people aren't familiar with that as a term, but I think you have a apple here that we're trying to get a little more oxidatively stressed right now, but it hasn't been out that long. But the longer you leave an apple out, the more it browns, and that's that stress. And our shelf life is a lot longer than the apples, right? But that's kind of happening to us as we go forward. And so tell us, what about, I know you have a background in cosmetology, and tell us about the impact. I mean, we know that, headaches, migraines, digestive issues, what about, and other things, what about our skin? How does this have an impact with gut health on our skin?
And our hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's totally true. And I remember before I had always, like I said, I've always loved health, but before I really started diving into health, and I would see my clients and, kids who would suffer from things like eczema and allergies, psoriasis, things like that, acne, all of these things are huge because when you're metabolizing, your hormones and detoxifying pathogens like or you having your gut do this. So if that gut is unhealthy, you will see your skin is going to be one of the first places you might see disease.
Wow.
And I look back at Chase, my son. He had horrible, like kind of eczema, especially on his face and cheeks, and very sensitive skin, things like that. He had gut issues before he was sick. He was very intolerant to things. So, I know for me, when I've never was someone who really suffered from acne with all my Lyme stuff, but I would have weird rashes like under my armpits. It sounds crazy. Or I was so sensitive to environmental stuff, like my scalp would get super red. My hair would fall like in clumps, and so there were so many things that were telling me that my body was not healthy. You think about your fingernails, your cuticles, ridges in your nails. Those are all signs of something going on in the body that isn't healthy. So somebody absolutely with gut issues, it might come out more like eczema or psoriasis or even acne. You look at teenagers when you're trying to, metabolize hormones. It's huge for teenagers with acne. One, dairy is a huge, and sugar, and it's hard. I have a 16-year-old, so it is hard, but if you could give them a probiotic, prebiotic, even digestive enzymes, those are all things that are going to help the liver and everything metabolize and process everything that it's trying to do. So I think the skin is one of, the first places that you might see disease, to be honest, could be one of them.
And you just mentioned those digestive enzymes. That's like you equate it to the fuel that we put in our car. We're not going to put diesel fuel in a car that doesn't ask for that, right? And those digestive enzymes are feeding our cells so that they can work for us, right? And not against us.
Exactly.
Well, I've been asking a lot. I have another question, but would you like to ask something? Because I've been asking plenty of questions. I do have another one.
Go for it.
Okay, so just based on what you're saying, so like our skin is one of the first places that that we can see maybe alarm signs of something. So I know I'm very dedicated to taking care of my cars. Okay, if I hear the slightest sound that I don't like, I've got it at the mechanic, and he can get to the root of the problem and fix it. Now, what if somebody already sees some sign of something on their skin, like I hear the noise in my car? Is it too late? Are there things that can be done to deal with that, like preventatively and naturally before we have to go further?
I would say no. It's like for me, it was a great example of, having little skin issues that I didn't, really link back to my gut, or even dry, flaky skin is another one that could be if you're not have that natural glow or that kind of healthy, even where your skin produces extra oils. Those are good things in aging. And those are also good things that mean your body is producing what it needs. So no, I mean, I think I'm a great example of someone who had horrible gut problems and skin stuff going on all the time. And, until I took time to really heal that gut and lower inflammation and really look at what I was eating and, doing detoxification things like foot baths or even your Epsom salt baths, those are all great for your skin, even. And so giving it that probiotic, prebiotic, all of those. So I don't think it's ever too late, to start addressing your health and your gut. Obviously from your skin is your largest organ. So obviously we need to heal from the inside out, but outside in. So I'm a huge fan of great, clean skincare products because I hate chemicals and things. So I'm always trying to find things that are clean to protect my skin as well. But it's never too late to start taking care of that health. And, I think sometimes it can be overwhelming for someone to think, oh my gosh, how do I do all of this at once? But just doing those little changes in your life can make a huge impact. But remembering that the gut can take a really long time to heal. And so as you're healing your gut, your skin might expose more things. You might have more breakouts or more skin issues when you are detoxing. I mean, my son's a great example. He had quite a few skin issues those couple of years after going through treatment, and eczema came out more, and molluscum pox, little things like that on his legs. And so those were all showing us that we're detoxing and cleansing out that gut, but now he doesn't have those things like he used to. So I don't think it's ever too late. It's just, I always say, just don't wait, keep waiting for that accident and start being proactive.
Yeah, and people, we all have to educate ourselves, and it takes time, and we live in this hectic society where we're just always eating on the run, right? And that doesn't necessarily help how, our food is digested. We want to have that rest and digest state when we're consuming food, right? And because doesn't that impact as well how it's digested, how we're going to feel later on, and just our overall gut health? That does play a part in it, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And I think that whole, where you look at who's, sometimes you might eat because you're stressed, or you're stressed and then you eat, and then you're fast eating or throwing something down or being not mindful about what you're putting in your system. And it's exactly, I mean, it should be something where you sit down to eat. Cause I think so many times, even as a busy mom, it's easy to have kids like in and out and just eat quick, but really sitting down and being mindful when you do eat is important, and just allowing that body to not be under a stress while it's trying to digest, and and allowing your body to tell yourself you're full instead of eating fast and then, oh, I'm really full. That's also something that I think can be stress eating, can cause a lot of other issues, or eating fast. So
And if we don't, yeah, if we don't take the time now, then how much more time are we going to have to spend later on, right? When we have problems. So we
Yeah.
all have to be more mindful of that.
Again, our guest who's watching, one of our guests here, has said that she experienced alopecia 6 years ago and started losing chunks of hair, and started taking Epsom salt baths three times a week, added peppermint oil in them, and there's been a huge improvement from those salt baths. So,
oh, that's huge. Epsom salt baths are so great, for that skin. And, we've got to help when our gut's trying to detoxify, and when we're feeding it the things it needs, when it needs a place to get that out. And so your skin is that place. And so Epsom salt baths are a great tool for people that are inexpensive and something that they can do at home, absolutely, to help detoxify the skin for sure. No, that's
So how can people know what they're taking in is, is going to be good for their gut or not going to be good for their gut? I mean, there's common sense, of course, like French fries, probably not the best thing for it, but even when you're trying to eat healthy, it is, how do we separate what's good and what isn't?
I think it kind of goes back again a little bit, Dawn, to eliminating those foods that are going to be inflammatory. Like those dairy or those sugars or processed foods. Or I tell people if there's a million ingredients on it, it probably is not something that's going to be healthy for the gut. If it's a prepackaged food, the more that you can cook at home, know what you're putting in your body, where it's sourced, not having all of those chemicals that can cause leaky gut. Antibiotics, I'm a very, I would say only if absolutely necessary, because they can take, you're looking at a good anywhere from 6 to 12 months to heal the gut from one round of antibiotics. And so what antibiotics and medications, you think about everything from sleeping pills to antidepressants to things like that, birth control, huge one on the gut. So if you think about these things, if there's natural alternative things that you can be doing instead of a medication, and I'm not against medications, it's just they can be really hard on the gut and cause a whole slew of a domino effect of other things in the body. So I would just say be mindful of that, taking good things daily of that probiotic, prebiotic, anything you can do to eliminate inflammation and help that good bacteria have a chance to dominate over the bad bacteria.
Go ahead, please.
So you've used the word prebiotic and probiotic, and is there a postbiotic? Is that something that we can be thinking about as well?
We were just kind of learning about that, which is interesting because I had never really heard about that. I'd always heard about, the prebiotic to feed the probiotic, which is the garden, and now this postbiotic. So now we are learning more about that. And I think, having all of those correct bacteria and enzymes are so key. And I love that medicine right now, you are hearing a lot more about these post probiotics, all of them, because they are all key in just keeping that garden the way we want it. And therefore helping keep 70 to 80% of our immune system more healthy by providing it everything it needs. And so, yeah, absolutely. We are hearing more about that and what those do. And I think that in medicine, it is neat because you're hearing about the skin gut axis, the brain gut axis, these prebiotics, postbiotics, all of that. So yeah, absolutely. All of those are really important.
All playing a part in what we all care about, which is having a strong immune system.
Exactly.
Well, Desiree, thank you so very much. Did you have one more question?
I just want to ask her if she wanted to end with anything particular.
Yes.
I think your guys' questions are awesome. And, if there's anybody that has questions or anything, feel free in the comments. And if we can't answer them, we'll find somebody who can. But I would just say, really, to focus on your overall health, all of these things that you can do just to help your health will in turn help your gut, which will in turn help the immune system, your skin, just your brain overall, how you feel. So I just think I love that you guys, like I said, are educating people weekly on different health topics. So I appreciate you guys asking me on, because I'm definitely not an expert. I just love health. And so, there's a lot of people you could have asked on this topic.
Oh, we're
so
very
glad to have
passionate.
you.
We're so grateful for your personal experience, because you've been through things and that they have led you. I mean, you grew up in a very health conscious family, but at the same time, you had some issues that you had to deal with as an adult and as a young mom. And all of that has made you even more passionate. And so it makes us all see how proactive we need to be in taking care of our bodies.
And it seems like we're talking about really lifestyle choices here, not just a one-off kind of thing. It's really changing one's life to just be more whole. So Desiree Mamot, thank you so much for joining us today. And those who have been watching, please feel free to reach out to us at Activate and Thrive. We can share more great ideas about how to really keep yourself healthy on a natural level. And we're just happy to engage with you. If you want to ask Desiree any specific questions, we can connect you with her. And so just thank you so much for joining us today. I hope this has been helpful and meaningful to you. And we hope to see you each week here at Activate and Thrive, noon Eastern Time, US, for these discussions with health-minded people. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. And thank you, Des.
You're welcome. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.